major? Oh, cool. I came in as a physics major at UCI, and uh, and then after a year or two, I got tired of solving for X all the time. It's like, why the hell am I solving for X? And it had no meaning for me. X meant nothing, and I switched over to biomedical physics, and then eventually switched to biology. I just love the science of the body and the human and things of that sort. Um, and uh, and just because of the intellectual challenge and the science of biology, it was just a good match that I enjoyed and it took me down the pre-med route is how I got into all of this. And I'm still working on getting my bachelor's degree. So,
Very good. Well, he kind of joked about it too, but being from typical Asian Japanese family, my father was an attorney, corporate lawyer. So, ever since I was small, it kind of, I don't want to use the word brainwash, but going to medicine or law is always good. And I've always was interested in vet initially. I used to own turtles, pigeons, beetles, dogs, cats, illegal piranhas, squirrels, little birds, and read Dr. Doolittle. I've always wanted to go to veterinary medicine, but my parents say, hey, animals are good too, but you should look into people medicine as well. So first, I kind of looked into dentistry, but as Dr. Ho know, she and I like to talk to people. If you're a dentist, you can't really converse with people. So I said, okay, that's not a good field for me. Afterwards, I looked into plastic surgery when I was at USC. And I used to go to see this doctor in Beverly Hills. And in the 90s, there was the recession. And as a student, of course, you don't know what recession is because you're not making any money or making any earning. So I went to see him, and the Beverly Hills doctor was actually traveling all the way out to Rancho Cucamonga and Newport Beach and different places. So when I went to see the doctor, office manager said, hey, you know what? He's not here. He's in Rancho. I said, where the hell is that? Mm-hmm. And when he came back, I asked him, hey, I thought you were doing really well. He said, hey, you know what? Medical fields are good, but you have to know what fields are good. There's kind of like a trend to it. Right now, geriatrician is really, really good. A lot of geriatrics, older people. And I know a lot of medical students are, get into that field. So plastic surgery, out, and I looked into it more. And back then, no internet in the 90s, studied demographic, geographic, and one of the open field was podiatry, and that's how selected that field, and it's been okay so far. Yeah, I eat dinner, have roof above me, so yeah, it's been good to me.
Dr. Susumi is actually very modest here. He actually has 2 offices, and very, very popular. In fact, actually, he's the go-to podiatrist for all of my patients.
All thanks to Dr. Ho.
Oh, thank you, Dr. Susumi. He's actually our family doctor too. Well, not, the doctor for my family, but any actually needs for the food related, yes. Yeah. So I'm going to go next. So actually I was, my parents were doctors. My mom were pediatrician. My dad was ophthalmologist. So it's actually like, on their side of the family, they have 10 doctors. On my side of the family, so basically actually like growing up, we were expected, right? Everybody, yeah, we were expected to be actually like, basically go to medical school. So that's what we did. And, when I went to medical school, the challenge is actually what specialty to pick, at that time, my impression was that you have to be you have to first actually have a foundation of medicine. So before you become a specialist. So I thought, okay, let's go into family medicine, let's learn everything that we could learn. and then you can actually go back and do another residency, right? So that's actually was my plan. But I didn't realize actually that, in America, you um, the government actually only pay for you to do residency once. So you have to actually, kind of pick what you want, initially. And it's very super hard to go back and do a second residency, because actually the program won't get paid for your position. So what I did was actually I completed my family medicine residency. I worked for Kaiser for 5 years, and I thought, okay, it's time to go back to school. So I went back, and initially I wanted to do occupational medicine. So I actually applied and got into UCI. So almost actually started the program there. But then actually, at that time, I had 2 kids and I had a mortgage to pay. So I kind of like, okay, I guess actually I will continue working, instead of going back to school. But, family medicine has benefits, of the specialty. If you look at actually the salary range, it's kind of like one of the lowest pay, right? But actually, it will lead you into a medical field, and in the medical field, you can do so much, and I think actually that's where Mr. Chang will come in, and then will tell you actually how he, did very well in medical field, although actually he's not an MD.
So was that my cue?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. So my background is actually computer science. I graduated UCI a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
My roommate in college was actually a bio major who's now a physician. I can tell you this, I would not survive. I'm not going to make it through doing the amount of stuff you guys have to do and the education you have to take. So I picked the easy route. So I took computer science.
Mm-hmm.
And when I graduated, I actually got hired at Xerox, which is a big company.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned very quickly that I did not like big companies. Small company, a lot of flexibility. So, and by accident, a good friend of mine joined a startup near my house, near where I was living, that was in the healthcare industry. I didn't know anything about healthcare industry, and healthcare wasn't very sexy, right?
Mm-hmm.
You want to be in defense, you want to be, in gaming, but healthcare, but it was close to my home. It was easy, and it was a startup. So I joined the company, and what they did was they built these. They were the first company to build what they call interface integration engine for the healthcare industry. So they were one of the first company to connect departments together within a hospital, allowing them to share information. So when you register a patient in the front administration, administration,
Mm-hmm.
you admit them, all that information will be propagated throughout the hospital. So they were one of the first companies that did that, and that's what I learned about healthcare. So my involvement with healthcare was strictly an accident, coincidental. Now my love for healthcare, that was another incident that happened. I always remember this. When I was working with this company, I was on the hospital in Connecticut, installing the software, and this is the first time this hospital had the software to connect all the departments together. And I was out there. It's got to be like midnight, 2 a.m. We were getting some system running, and one of the ER nurse came by and said, "Hey, we want to know who was the one that allows us to access to all this information." And I don't remember all the specific, but I don't understand all the specific at that point. But essentially, what she told us was because she had access to the information at her fingertip, she was able to save a patient life.
Cool.
Right? Without the information, it would have made a different life and death for that patient. So at that point, I realized, wow, I'm actually doing something that actually is helping people, saving lives. So that's how I fell in love with working in the healthcare industry. And I was with the company for a little bit. The company grew, and then ended up starting my own company. Ran that for 12 years, doing a very similar thing, except we extended the integration out to the community.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So instead of just inside the hospital, we built software to allow, say, a private practice to connect to the hospitals, to the insurance company, and then handle all the nuances to match all the information up and everything. and then sold that company to IBM, and then back a long time ago. I don't want to date myself, so I won't name the years. And then I ended up being at IBM for a couple of years as part of the they call it the handcuff, or the golden handcuff. And I was able to work in a pretty cool position. I was one of the executive for Watson, but really focused on the healthcare side. So working with big data, how to use data to again present that information to the physician so that they can make better decisions. So yeah, and then I got involved in a couple other ventures in healthcare. Most recently with Dr. Ho and Dr. Tren. She mentioned this 360 Health, very exciting stuff. Very exciting stuff that Medicare just launched. That at the end of the day will, again, my goal is to be able to help save lives and of course reducing costs. And I think this new program, Dr. Ho can talk about more about that, called DCEs, or the direct contracting, will definitely save lives and reduce healthcare costs. So it's a very exciting project. So that's my story.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, everyone. That was really great. I loved how you guys were all able to touch on not only like what inspired you, but how you were able to like go into the current jobs you're in now. So I know Mr. Chang touched on this a little bit, but how are you able to branch out from medicine? Like, what opportunities did you find or make for yourself?
I didn't start in medicine, so I think probably how I answer is how I stayed in medicine. I didn't get away from the healthcare field. So as a technologist, you talk to guys from gaming, from defense. They have this really cool advanced stuff that they talk about, right? And it's very advanced technology, really cool stuff. But then when you start going to the hospital, at least this is back then, the technologies are pretty antiquated. It's pretty old. So what I saw was a lot of opportunities. You learn stuff. There's a certain technology available to you. Like for example, a lot of the more big data and analytics and artificial intelligence that people are using now. Those stuff are used in other industry all the time, right? And we're just bringing those into healthcare. And so when I see the availability of the technology, and then organizations are starting to leverage the technology and information, kind of like what CMS is doing, Medicare is doing, because they have access to data. They're saying, hey, let's do this direct contracting, because all these data is telling us that this is going to reduce costs and save lives. So as a technologist, we can like, oh wow, I know how to do this. I'm going to try to apply it to problem areas that I have some understanding of, and partner with people like Dr. Ho and Dr. Tren that knows the industry, and put our heads together and solve those problems. So it gets pretty exciting. It's like I'm a problem. I consider myself a problem solver. So you get in front of this puzzle, and try to put this puzzle together, and then once you put it together, the reward is that you build something, and it also help society, help people. I hope that answered it.
And I have to actually second Mr. Chang take on that, because actually, as a practicing doctor, it's really, actually compared to 20 years ago to now, right? The technology has improved so much, and therefore actually would allow us at this point be able to manage the patient more effectively. You actually be able to access records from different locations, including like hospitals, urgent care, ER, and actually be able to, kind of like have a more real-time access to the patient record, and therefore actually, be able to manage the patient sitting right in front of you, versus actually like, but even now, there's still actually the connectivity is still, not perfect, right, Mr. Chang? And so actually that is actually an opportunity for you guys, young kids who is actually in high school or college, who are actually like undecided whether you want to go into a medical school or just actually choose like, healthcare technology or something like that. I would encourage you guys to explore all options. And just actually follow your passion instead of actually say, oh my gosh, I have to go to medical school in order to make, good money or make a good living. You don't have to, just follow your passion, because actually there's still a lot of things that need to be done in healthcare industry.
I agree.
Yeah, I think some other ways that doctors can generate income. The business of medicine is something that's much needed as well. And when I say the business of medicine, it's the chief medical officer, the medical director, the physicians, or the healthcare folks that run the business of I keep saying medication of medicine, and understanding the process of insurance, of billing, the process of collecting data, which is what David does. And so if you're in high school or college, and if you're interested in medicine, but it's like being a physician is not for me, right? Opportunities in the business of medicine, where you still interact in a different way to take care of patients and things of that sort.
He's absolutely right, because that's something you never learn in school, and you learn from making mistakes, unfortunately. You could be the best doctor in town, but if you don't know how to collect or build insurance, you get nowhere.
Right.
There's Dr. Ho knows her. I won't name her name, but there's a doctor in town, well, actually in Corona, like 10 miles away from our office. She was an excellent doctor. Everybody loved her. She did very, very well. And you just mentioned it. She, like 20 years ago, she closed her shop. Like when you see patients, you have to substantiate what you did to insurance company. And, she was an older doctor, so she didn't want to do it. So insurance asked for notes, a medical record. She flatly said, I'm not doing it. I don't know why she did that. So her office, pile of charts, pile of letter from insurance. She never substantiated. She closed her shop. Now she works for this, I think it's VA in Victorville or somewhere out there. And I guess there you don't have to do that. But that was kind of it's a shame, because she was very, very good doctor in Corona.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you're right. That's probably one of the most important part in medicine, the business aspect.
Let's see, what are some other questions? Do you have any pre-med or college advice? From Valmik. I would definitely recommend, if you're interested, to just dive in and volunteer. Either have a preceptor, or volunteer in the hospital, volunteer in the office, or volunteer in one of our our medical missions trip that we go on every year. It's really important to get your feet wet a little bit so that you understand work with patients, and you'll know real quick if it's something that you are interested in after a few volunteer experiences. It would be what I would recommend for someone who's in pre-med, or college or high school.
Yeah, I would definitely echo what Dr. Chen is saying. I think there were some questions about pre-med or what we could do while you're in school. Experience, the hands-on experience is so valuable. As Dr. Chen said, go out, get involved. In addition to actually getting the experience and learn about these things, you learn about what the job is about, and is it the right fit for you? The other thing that you also get is connection, right? So I'll give you this example, okay? I'll just drop this one. If you get involved with Dr. Chen's programs, these these trips, not only are you gonna learn these things, but you're gonna connect with one of the best doctor in the area. It's so well connected, and he's right here. And if you participate in this program, you would have that connection. And I can tell you right now, that connection is worth its weight in gold. So connection is very, very important. Building relationship as you're going to college. I'll leave that out there.
Yeah, of course. Especially when I'm learning now, connections get you so far, especially with like volunteering opportunities and shadowing opportunities. So that's kind of one of the reasons I decided to do this nonprofit. So we can so it kind of eliminates the notion that if you don't have connections, you can't make it. So we're trying to provide those connections to doctors like you, or medical professionals, or even like industry professionals like you guys. So another question I had DM'd private message to me was, what's something you guys wish you knew before you started pursuing like computer science like Mr. Chang, or business and medicine like everyone else?
I want to go first this time. I don't want to go after these guys anymore. To be honest, I was clueless. Totally clueless. So much now, and one of the things that I wish I have done more is connecting, like what Isabel's doing right now. I wish I've done more of that. But I was clueless, and I picked computer science. Okay, not because I had a vision of like a Bill Gates or Mark Zuckerberg thing. It was simply because, and I'm learning to be honest nowadays, so I'm not gonna lie about anything anymore. It's just too hard to lie about anything. Mm-hmm. So the reason I picked computer science was because I wanted to be in engineering. I was pretty good at math, and I looked up the requirements for the colleges, for the UCs. I went to UC Irvine, and the requirements for electrical engineering were about this long, right? And the requirement for computer science was this much. So that's how I made my decision. But the point is that I think we can think about it a lot, and you can think you turn blue in the face. You just don't know what's going to happen in the future. The market is changing so fast, right? When I went to school in computer science, a lot of that stuff is irrelevant right now. Things are changing so fast. You heard of people that makes money off of Instagram. I bet you none of you guys thought it was possible 5 years ago, 10 years ago, right?
Right.
Or doing e-commerce on Amazon. Mm-hmm. That wasn't there 10 years ago, mm-hmm. Right? So I would say, instead of trying to, trying to figure it out, don't do that. You're just gonna go nuts. What I like to tell younger people is just learn how to learn, get through the program, get out there, get a lot of experience, see what's going, what's happening out there, connect with the right people so you can see what's coming up. So I'll leave it at that. I'll leave it for the other people to provide their feedback as well.
And I want to add something to it too. Like David said, you're very smart. It doesn't matter this much or that much. You found what you like, your passion. You could have gone into civil engineering. You could have got into aerospace engineering. You'll be hating it. They do well financially as well, but every day you wouldn't be smiling like right now. You wouldn't be sitting there. And I think David is very smart. It doesn't matter what you do. Did you know 60 to 70% of Americans hate what they do? Mm-hmm. Isn't that really sad? Mm-hmm. 60 to 70% of people get up in the morning, they go, pick up a check, or they go to do their business, but they're not happy. Why? Because they picked the wrong field, or they got the wrong advices, or, like someone said earlier, maybe their parents forced them to do, a certain field. And important thing is, if you have passion, like Dr. Ho said, if you have passion, if you like what you do, you'll be good at it because that's what you like to do. There's going to be ups and downs, but when it's down, your field really well, you study for it, so you can cope with these situations and obstacles. So what you said is, right, David, you picked the right field instead of picking other engineering, and look at you, you're doing very, very well, financially, status wise, and people respect you. So I think everyone who's listening to this should learn from what he said. It doesn't matter what you do, medicine has dermatology, internal medicine, podiatry, dentistry. Pick the one you like. Don't do it because someone said, oh, you know what? You're 6'4", you're big, go into orthopedic. You'll be an orthopedist, you'll be hating it. Oh, you got, small hand, go into, heart surgery. You'll be hating it. You gotta do the research and find out what you really like, what you are passionate about, right?
Mhm. So one of the questions of the panel from the students is regarding how is there any other way to generate income aside from their main job? Actually, I was thinking like my former boss, right? He actually wrote books. He actually was a speaker on the several panels, including actually Dr. Susumi. You may actually have experience with this too, like actually be a representative for a pharmaceutical companies, right? Or actually a surgical product, right? A spokesperson for, and a paid spokesperson for those companies. So actually there's, you can, basically actually publications, many type of publication, including magazine, journals. There's so many magazine and journals that actually they kind of beg you to be their writers because they don't have enough writers, right? They actually have to crank out articles after articles, like, in a very short period of time. So if you're actually interested in, kind of combining medicine and literature, you definitely can do that. So, and then there's other, yeah. So those are the ways that you definitely can, generate other incomes as well.
And another question that we had that I thought you guys can all touch upon on, what was the hardest part about going into postgraduate learning, whether it be after graduating with a computer science degree or after graduating with intent to go to med school?
I know. It sounds as a joke, but it's true. Finished 4 years of undergraduate at USC, going to postgraduate school. By that time, a lot of my friends and buddies and some of the guy who was in fraternity, they start working. And, dirt poor, I'm, ordering Chinese and eat 1/3 today, 1/3 next day, 1/3 next day, eating a lot of rice. I went through that. And all my friends just finished just BS in business. They were doing okay financially. So first thing they do is go buy, I'm just saying Nissan Sentra, new one, or Toyota Camrys, and I'm driving this piece of crap car. And that really upset me. It's a true story. And I remember talking to my father and said, this really sucks. I'm only 20. I'm sitting and studying all the time. And all my friends are, going to the party and they're having a good times. And this most important thing he said, you suffer now, and in the future, you'll be smiling. You're smiling, having fun now. In the future, you're going to suffer. And what he meant was, in the 20s, you're studying all the time. You're poor. Everyone is having fun. But the guy who just graduated, not doing any MBA or postgraduate or any field to go more into it. When you graduate from college, they're here because they're making money and they do well. They have house, they have a Nissan Sentra, and then you turn 30, you go up here, you do okay. Early 30s here, 40s, and I'm in the 50s. Big difference. Yeah, and I'm not saying financially only. Money's not everything. You gotta love what you do, but that's the hard thing about postgraduate is all your friends are gonna be doing well initially. They all will. They're gonna have nicer cars, nicer watch, nicer clothes, and you're poor eating Chinese, same food 3 days in a row. But it'll all pay off. Once again, passion. If you have passion for what you do, it doesn't hurt you. You can continue to do it, and it's not really an obstacle because in the long run, you're gonna succeed. You're gonna do well. Passion will help you do better in the long terms.
Yeah, we had I ate a lot of chicken nuggets through med school. Yes.
Sweet and sour chicken.
Yeah. The right dip. Yeah,
that's right.
And so it's called delayed gratification, guys. Is what it is. And I graduated with $200,000 in medical school loans and debts, and yes, that was painful. Was it worth it? Absolutely. And And again, it does come down to passion, to loving what you do. And the question is, how do you know what you're passionate about, right? I mean, if you're, in your teens, early 20s, how do you know what your passion is and what you enjoy? So, so here's a tip for you. Your passion is something you wake up and you're looking forward to doing, and you're willing to do it without taking a pay or an income, right? Nobody has to pay you for it, because this is something you want to do, right? This is just something you would do just voluntarily. That's your passion. Versus you wake up and you're doing it because you get a paycheck and you're working just for the paycheck. That's not passion, right? Working for a paycheck. But if it's something you enjoy doing, whether you got paid or not, that's how you determine what your passion is. And you find a field where you're passionate in that field, right? Whether it's business or medicine or health or whatever it is, you're willing to wake up every morning. You're like, I love it. I'm just going to do it. The paycheck's not important. When you find that field, that's your passion. The money will come ways to monetize. You will find ways to monetize your passion, but it's always great to have that passion first, because trust me, you don't want to go through med school, graduate and be ready when you're 30, and then hate what you're doing the rest of your life. And you can't make a U-turn because you've invested so much money into med school and residency and all that, right? And there's no U-turn because you're so deep into it. So definitely follow your passion and volunteer to find out what your passion is.
Yeah, and maybe a little bit more about that. Oh, sorry, David, did I?
Oh no, go ahead. I was going to answer a question. I saw I should be able to answer.
Oh, okay. So maybe a little bit more about what Dr. Trin said. How do you find these volunteer opportunities to figure out what you like?
Good question. It depends on, well, if you guys wanted to hang out with us, just go to our Facebook page. It's just tongueout.org, and you will find out what I do as far as medical missions work. Obviously, this year we're not going anywhere because of coronavirus, but normally we're out of the country probably about 5 times a year. Every year we are in Haiti, we're in Vietnam, we're in Peru, we're in Mexico, and we take doctors and nurses with us, and we take dentists as well. And half of our team are usually students. So half of my team is high schoolers. For the last few years, UC Irvine has partnered with us, and a whole bunch of UCI students have come on our team as well. Whatever college you're in, you can just shoot me an email or follow us on Instagram. We're on Instagram and we're on Facebook, and see what we're up to if you're interested in medical missions work to get your feet wet.
Yeah, and I'll definitely be looking into that as well. I love your corporate, the nonprofit corporation, and how you guys do have expanded overseas and internationally. So a question from Hermela. They ask, how can you involve yourself in business and medicine in college?
I'm going to throw something out real quick. And I think there's another question that says, what advice do you have for undergraduates who are equally interested in exploring tech and healthcare industry? So I'll kind of bundle all that together. There are programs in a lot of universities that allow students to participate. They're more in the form of business competitions, business planning competitions. I've been involved with that at UCI for a number of years, and I tell you what, you learn so much from that. And a lot of these competitions, these plans involves technology, right? So you put technology, you pull business together, and then you can target the healthcare industry, and then propose that plan. And what's going to happen is that you got to you put a team together, you got to sign a coach that actually coach you. I've done that. I've coached and I've judged along the years, throughout the years. And I'll give you a story. and you learn a lot. You actually learn a lot from real life people, with real life experiences. I'll give you a story. I met this college student about 7 years ago, and he had a business plan competition in the healthcare industry, and it was something with heart valves and stuff. But as soon as we got together, he was more interested in informatics, and he was a some sort of engineering student at UCI, and so we started working on a plan, right? This is strictly something to submit to the competition, and we ended up winning second place.
All right.
But he took that, and the next year evolved that. I'll continue to work with him, and we took second place again. But we were able to meet a lot of people, and when he graduated, there were people, including myself, ready to back this guy to start a business, right? So he started this healthcare business right off the bat, right out of school. Instead of taking he's got some great offers. A really smart kid. So I fast forward a few years. So we evolved the business, went out, raised money, did a bunch of stuff. So now the healthcare business is actually in Vietnam now. He's still in his 20s. He's a CEO of a company that's worth 8 figures right now, going on to 9 figures. And that's in the 4 short years. And a lot of that he learned from doing those business plan competition. He did that for like 3 years straight. Sophomore, junior, senior, and connected with a lot of people. By the time he graduated, he had people to back him up for the startups. So I would say, yes, you can, go to school, get your GPA, do all that stuff, but if you can get involved in those things, the business plan competitions, you learn a lot, and you get to meet some pretty incredible people as well along the way. So.
Is that an organization, David, or is that an organization, David, and the name of the organization?
I think that the programs and each university has their own. I think at UCI it's called Butterworth competition. So I would look through that at your own school. There are outside organization. I think it's called Startup Weekends is another one where they literally pull a bunch of people together over one weekend. Okay, develop a prototype product and a pitch over one weekend. And then pitch that, and you get a coach again. Same thing, you get a coach, and you pitch that to a panel of judges, and they score you, right? But you learn a lot over one weekend.
Very cool.
Right? So that's called Startup Weekend. I don't know exactly what they're doing, like what the next events are given the pandemic and all that. At UCI, there's another group called Evo Nexus. They're actually on near campus. There's a lot of startups there. I think it's like 60 or 70 startups there, and a lot of coaches and advisors that are there. So I would just kind of go there, knock on the door. Hey, let me check this place out. Yeah.
Very cool.
Lots of resources there.
Awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Going off of what Mr. Chang said with like the programs at UCI, a lot of universities do have like clubs and programs you can get involved with, whether it be like independent research, clinical research, or like just dipping your toes into entrepreneurship, like like a competition or like workshop or whatever. And speaking of the pandemic, which you mentioned, do you have any tips for how high school students can get involved in the medical field during COVID?
Well, I guess actually Dr. Train and I can talk about that, because actually we do have a division in our organization. It's called 360 Clinic, and the 360 Clinic is running the 2 super sites right now in Orange County, California. So we do need volunteers. However, actually for high schoolers out there, who are under 18, you guys actually definitely need permission from, your parents, as well as actually, college students. Again, actually just ask for permission from your parents first, because actually, again, actually a lot of parents actually are not comfortable with, having your, their kids actually to be involved with COVID, right? It's kind of like an evil word. So just as actually, yeah, but actually we do have an organization out there that you guys can be involved. Just like actually, I think actually any cities in the United States, you know, there are opportunities there. So you definitely can look. And it's actually probably rewarding because actually, again, connections, right? You get involved with these organizations, you get to know people who are in medical field or healthcare industry in general. And that actually will be actually, you know, will help with your next project, whatever that is, you know, whether in technology or in business or in medicine.
Yeah, we had groups of high schoolers make masks at home, and their masks were distributed to a whole bunch of different folks, like seniors who are afraid to go out. And so we had, with our organization Tongue Out, we have 3 high school clubs that are Tongue Out clubs. They're actually on Irvine. One's at Uni High, the other one's at Woodbridge, just launched, and one's at Irvine High School. So those students during the pandemic, they're doing food for like homeless shelters. They're helping out with a few different homeless shelter areas, and they're also making a lot of masks. And we had a few go and deliver masks as well to seniors who needed it. So different opportunities, they're all local with the pandemic, with your parents' permission.
Yes.
And a little bit more advice for high school students. I've also on like Instagram and just basically being in like the nonprofit realm, I guess. There's a lot of great nonprofits out there where you can help hospitals by either like helping fundraising for personal protective equipment that you can later donate to your local hospitals, or even encouraging your community to like write cards to donate to these hospitals. And I know one of the local ones that one of my friends is involved in is if you have a 3D printer at home, you can help 3D print ergonomic under mask devices that helps you breathe if you have breathing problems or if you're sweaty and your mask is sticking to your face. And another question from Rachel is, would you say that the business field is being more fully integrated with the medical field as time is progressing? And do you think that is allowing for more careers to be available?
Dr. Susumi, would you like to take on this question?
You know, like I mentioned earlier, what you learn in school and residency, it's imperative. I mean, that's what we do, but it's I'm sure all physicians will agree with me, is the reimbursement is going down. You know, you do a surgery or see patients, and they like to globalize stuff, meaning you do 20 things and they only pay for one, and that one payment is less than what you should be receiving, and that's just the trend. That's how it's going. So you really need to know how to manage your business by hiring the right people. You know, when you're hiring employees, make sure you don't hire one person to do one thing. Make sure that person does 3 other things. Finding a right employee is part of the good business as well. You know, hey, you get up in the morning and 70% of the time you spend time with your employees. And if you hate them, your life sucks. It's going to be very miserable. Dr. Ho, you know that. You want to work with good people. So to find that one right person, you got to go through 5 or 6 people. You know, you got 3 months of trial period. You know, if you don't like him in a month, if they don't, because people can fake it for 2 weeks. And if they're not the one you're looking for, look for another one. And that's the business part. It's really hard. You have to be a good judge of character. And to be a good judge of character comes from experience, right? And to have a good experience, you have to make a lot of mistakes. Failure is part of the success, I think. You know, don't be afraid to fail. A lot of people think when you fail, you fail. No, remember, failure it's not an antithesis of success. It's part of success. So when you fail, it's okay, you know. And the more you fail, next time you don't make that mistake if you're smart. And yeah, finding good employees, managing overhead. A lot of doctors don't do it. A lot of people don't do that. They let the office manager do it. You know, you can't do that. They don't care. I mean, to be honest, you know, people don't really care because it's not their business. You know, that if your office manager has 50% of the share in the business, that's different. But I don't think any doctor will do that. Any business people in general will do that. So that's the hardest part. You know, medicine is good. The longer you're in, 22 years, you'll know your stuff. Hey, after 22 years, if you don't know your stuff, you suck. You'll never be good at it. You will never be good at it after 20 years. Believe me, you suck. You picked the wrong field. Change your field. But to get in right employees, right product, running the business smoothly and efficiently, that's the hardest part of the running of medicine. So you have to know medicine, and you have to know how to deal with people. You have to know how to deal with patients. You know, not all patients are nice. You know, a lot of them are mean. You know, and you know, 10 people are happy with you, or 9 people are happy with you. One person complains, "Oh man, what did I do?" You know, it bothers you, but you gotta toss it over your shoulder and just move on. You gotta know how to cope with stress. You gotta know how to cope with people. You gotta know how to cope with the employees. You know, you just wanna be a bigger person. You wanna be a good leader. You know, you wanna know how to run business well, and that all comes from experience, I think. And I'm still 22 years later, still struggling, still working on it. I haven't professionalized it, and I don't think I ever will. You know, that's why I always ask advice to Dr. Ho, and she gives me the answer.
Thank you.
You got the answer for everything.
I'm not sure if I actually answer all the questions, but yeah, I try my best. But yeah, just actually to second that too. So, you know, actually like with you guys, you know, in high school or college, you know, looking for the big pictures. So, you know, healthcare industry in America, I assume actually some of you are not actually in the US, but, you know, in America, our healthcare industry has actually become more and more complex, right, guys? And so actually like, so, however, actually the majority of the doctors in practice is still actually in a small practice setting, right? Compared to actually like larger, like hospital setting or larger groups. So when you actually go out to the world, you will have to decide whether you actually want to actually be an employee for a larger group or actually be, you know, like a more independent in a smaller organizations. And then I guess actually Dr. Drin and, you know, David, actually you guys both have actually experience in all settings as well. And then actually like for business side, you know, actually we have, it's become so specialized now that actually, you know, you can actually have a BA in healthcare management, or you actually have a MBA or in medical management, or MBA in actually like, you know, health field industry. So actually different type of MBA basically about how to manage, to basically just learn about the management side of or business side of medicine basically. And for some of you actually who are interested in like say healthcare administration as a, you know, bachelor degree, like for you college, there are opportunity to like in, you know, big organizations, smaller organizations, usually actually they kind of like looking for people who actually want to train, you know, internally. You know, it's just actually a little bit better for smaller organization, but there are opportunities for some of you who may want to, you know, get a bachelor degree in medical healthcare management. And then actually there's actually managed care organizations, or MSO, you know, there's actually like, there's actually organization that just specialize in running doctors' offices, right, for doctors. So actually those are actually the business opportunity too.
I actually have a question for you guys. You know, in healthcare business, it's pretty interesting from the perspective that it's not like your typical business. Mm-hmm. You know, healthcare, you're in the business of saving lives, basically.
Mm-hmm.
You can't treat that like, you know, selling a sandwich or a pair of shoes,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you never call a patient a customer. I don't people don't say a patient is a customer
Mm-hmm.
or paying client.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone refers to them as, you know, customers.
Mm-hmm.
Or you go to the hospital, there's no sales team
Mm-hmm.
in the hospital because sales imply you're going out selling stuff,
Right.
right? We have other names,
Right.
you know, I've learned. And so I think that the business of healthcare is very interesting in the sense that you gotta be aware of all the different moving parts. There's a sensitivity around it, you know, and you know, you being doctors, you know, you took an oath, you know, basically mean you put that before money.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, you got to pay your bills.
Mm-hmm.
You got to pay your employees. You got to pay the rent. Those you know, the landlord is not gonna let you have that office for free, right?
Right.
So it's a very interesting. I'd like to hear from you guys. You know, do you have to struggle constantly and say, I have to run this business, but at the same time, I got to be a physician and I got to do what's, you know, what a physician is supposed to do. So I'd love to hear that perspective from you guys.
So I learned from early on that actually you should treat everybody equally. I know actually a lot of practices or actually even larger groups, they actually kind of look at the patients and they said, what type of insurance do they have? First of all, you know, first and foremost, what kind of insurance do they have? Like how do they get paid? And then treat actually them, you know, differently. And I learned early on, like you should not do that. So actually that's one of my tips for you guys out there who actually wants to go into medical school. And, you know, actually you will win some, lose some, but at the end of the day, you're happy and, you know, you feel like actually you can help some people. Some of them actually, it's not actually pleasant every single day, you know, but at least actually you feel like, okay, for a certain number of people, you actually like, you are, you know, without you, they probably would not be able to make it. So that's actually, if you look at that, actually that.
Yeah, medicine is it's definitely more than just a job, right? It's a calling, and it's a calling that you don't get to start your calling until you're about 30 because of the number of years involved, right? You gotta go through high school, college, medical school, and then residency is after that, internship. So my thoughts on that is it's definitely not just another business where you're counting dollars, cents, and revenue. And I'll tell you what we do at Memorial Care, which is the organization that I'm with. I have been on the board of directors and the executive committee, the leadership of management of Memorial Care. And if you're in the healthcare field where you're a provider, right? Your thought is the patient. The patient is in the center of this business. The patient is what we call, either in the business world, we call that your target market or things of that sort. And you have to view, what does the patient want? How do I provide the highest value to our patient, right? If I was a patient, what do I want in my doctor? What do I want in my podiatrist, right? And I know, I'm pretty sure we've all seen doctors in the past, whether it's for vaccinations or for physicals or for school physicals, right? I mean, what do you want to see in your doctor? And if you're here on Zoom, you can just type out for us what you want in the chat box to see in your doctor. You know, do you want somebody who's smart? Do you want somebody who's caring? Right? What exactly do you want in your doctor? Because if your doctor is the person that you want, is the ideal physician that you want, you're going to come back to that doctor over and over and over because of that trust that you've been developed, right? And so we ask those same things as a medical group. We ask those same things as the business managers, right? In the business of medicine. What do patients want? So patients want somebody who provides good care, right? So they want someone who with the expertise, who's smart. Believe it or not, half of doctors are at the bottom half of their class, right? So you want somebody who's smart. You want somebody who has good bedside manners, right? That that you can talk to, because you can have somebody who's smart, but is rude, right? You can have somebody who's smart but looks down on you, and so you need those different factors, right? You need intelligence. You need someone who's nice with good bedside manners, and then you need doctors who are, who are in the business world productive, right? They're seeing a lot of patients, and rather than sitting around all day and collecting a paycheck, right? So in Memorial Care, what we did was this: we provided every doctor a salary, right? Some base salary, whatever that salary is. And then we gave them what is called kind of like bonuses, right? Kind of like financial bonuses. And the bonuses were divided into 3 pieces. And there were a third, and a third. And the first piece of this bonus was that you're somebody who was productive, right? You want a doctor that sat around all day, saw no patients, didn't want to see any patient, and just got a paycheck, right? So we wanted you to see patients. And so that was a third of your bonus. The second part of our bonus, which was just as equally important as the first part, was that we wanted to pay you if you provided good care. We can now measure good care, and we measure that through preventive care, right? How many of your patients that are eligible and needed pap smears did you do pap smears in? How many of your patients who are eligible for mammograms did you send to get mammograms and colonoscopies? And right, did you provide good care? We can measure that, right? We can measure that now with David Cheng's information technology company, right? We took his company and we can measure all that now. And so just as equally important as seeing a good number of patients was how good was your care. The third bonus was really simple. We surveyed our patients and we asked them, did you like your doctor? From a scale of like 1 to 10. The doctors that had the highest patient satisfaction got the highest bonuses. And if you were a doctor that was mean and rude, right, you didn't get that third part. And that patient satisfaction piece was just as important as seeing a whole bunch of patients. It had equal value. And so in the business world, we try to align what's important to the patient, right? And we align that with the bonuses you got. So what is important to you and how do you align it with that? Because patient satisfaction, having a patient who trusts you and like you, is just as important as being a busy doctor, if not more. And that's also how we weeded out the mean doctors. They just didn't get paid, so they left. And we kept the good doctors. So I don't know if that I answered your question, but it's kind of long. It's kind of the business and the art of just taking care of patients with that.
I think you did. I think those are the things that, when in my experience working with physicians in hospitals, is something that they have to juggle. So it'd be good for the students to hear that part of it.
Mm-hmm. And then for Mr. Chang, we had 2 questions that are kind of similar for you, but I feel like everyone else can also answer this. What advice do you have for undergraduates who are equally as interested in exploring technology and healthcare, and specifically, how do you believe computer science is now integrating in the medical field? So that's from Carmen and Yug. And before I let you answer real quick for Yug, after I interned at Johns Hopkins for their biomedical program, a lot of doctors, I don't know if you guys are involved as involved in computer science, but in biostats, another popular language besides Python is RStudio and R. And I know they're strongly integrating that in bio research.
Okay, so you want me to answer that? Kind of?
Oh yeah, so what advice do you have for undergraduates who are interested in exploring tech and healthcare, basically?
So I'll go back to what I said earlier. Is these competitions or programs that are outside of the typical curriculum that you can participate in, get a lot of experience. That's very helpful. And this question about Python. Python in my tools out there, it's a tool, and the technology software tools all the time. And when you build tools based on functionality and how it helps the user get to do what they need to do. So I will learn as many tools as I can. Python, whatever else that you think you can get your hands on, the best tool available to achieve your goal, achieve the functionality you want. I will use those. I've heard from one, early on my healthcare industry career, from a physician, a really good physician from Ohio Health. He said, with all this technology that they put in front of me, really all the information I need to effectively treat this patient will fit on a 3x5 card. I say, give me the right information at the right time that can fit in a 3x5 card, I can treat this patient. I don't need all these data. I don't need all this technology. I don't want to click any more buttons than I need to, right? They're physicians. They're there to help the patient. They're not there to use it, spend a lot of time trying to use the tech. The tech is there to help them. So as a technician, or if you're involved in computer science, try to develop tools for the physician, think from that perspective, right? Present the right information at the right time that makes the physician more effective, right? So yeah, I hope that answered that question. So it's not just Python. Learn as much about everything else you can. There are a lot of different tools that are being used. Unfortunately, some of the more popular programs out there right now, and the doctor's son is 30-year-old technology. Okay, the technology is 30 years old, but they're still using it. But it goes back that this industry, has a lot of room to grow in terms of technology, right? So whatever tools you can get your hands on that you think can help, I will learn those.
Yeah, great answer. It's definitely super important that, computer science is such a growing field too. And it seems like every year there's always the newest, hottest programming language that you must learn. For everyone, JC asks, what do you think are some of the downsides with integrating business with medicine?
Well, I guess actually a lot of doctors will say that is definitely a downside to it. That's why actually they choose not to be involved in business side of medicine, right? A lot of doctors, when you ask, they would say, I'd rather just practice medicine. I don't want to get involved in the business side of it, whether actually to manage the practice or to grow the practice or something like that. And so you see actually, the newer grads from medical school tend to go that route. However, actually, what I see is that actually, ultimately, usually 5 years into your post-grad doc year, you kind of have to yourself involved in the business side of medicine. You cannot not do it. Even actually, I was with Kaiser before, and after it was actually even after 2 years at Kaiser as an employee physician, I found myself actually, I kind of have to take a leadership role to kind of make my life better, right? Because actually, otherwise, other you don't have then your life will become actually not as kind of pleasant as you want it to be. So actually, I think actually for a lot of you out there, actually some of you actually, if you have a family, if you actually, especially female, and kind of you start have to have a family, you have small kids, then you actually kind of don't want to actually get involved in business. You kind of say, you know what, actually, I have enough headache. I kind of want to just, 9-to-5 job, and I have a stable income. That's all I want. Actually, I know a lot of my friends actually that's happened to them. So as a female, actually, one of the reasons why I chose family medicine versus plastic surgery was because of that. I kind of like, my plastic surgery attending, he was so encouraging to me, to go into plastic surgery. But then actually I said, well, I'm a female, I will have to have my kids soon. So if I do family medicine for 3 years, I get out and I have actually like a paycheck, right? Versus actually plastic surgery is 7 years. So that's a long time. So that's actually something that has actually, a female students, actually, I'm not saying that, but actually you have to factor that into the equation as well.
So actually going off of that, connects to another question from Leanna, specifically for Dr. Ho. What are some of the tips you have for another female pursuing medicine and entrepreneurship?
I would say, actually, you know what? You have 60 years to do whatever you need to do. So that's a long time, right? Actually, our average, time's lifespan now is actually like 70 something. So even actually you graduated when you're actually like 18 or 20, you still have actually a long way to go. So actually, if you need to take a year or two off to take care of your family, if you need to slow down, like do so. But actually, then just go out there and thinking about me is that actually I kind of like have a hard time saying no to any opportunity, right? So actually, whatever actually they come in and they say, hey, Dr. Ho, I think actually a lot of time actually that leads you to open other doors too that you never know that you would have an opportunity. Like actually when I was actually with Eisenhower as a faculty, I didn't know actually I can actually like author a book chapter, but the opportunity was there. They just say, hey, Dr. Ho, I need an author for this chapter. Would you take on the assignment? I said, okay, I do that. And so actually, I kind of become a publishing author just because the opportunity is there. So, in a way, don't hesitate to actually say, take a few years off if you need to, but on the other hand, challenge yourself, right? Actually take on a challenge and see actually where you can go. Actually like my mother, when she was in her medical school in 1960s, she was actually like 6 out of 100 students, right? My class actually, there were like 51 of us, 40 something male. So actually the trend was actually kind of like the current healthcare setting, industry. We actually, as long as actually you want to take on the challenge, people will present the challenge to you. Yeah.
Yeah, great answer. And for everyone, I feel like everyone's already touched on a little bit of this. But Hermela asks, do you think it's worth it to get an MBA and an MD?
So yeah. So I know actually a lot of people actually would take an MBA, degree. I do think actually I actually planning to do a certificate at UC Irvine myself, and I think actually a little knowledge would help you, especially if you're actually going to become like take on a leadership position in a larger organization. I think it's actually a good idea. There's a few ways to do that. You don't have to actually do a full MBA. You can actually do a a partial certificate, type of business management. You can actually, there's a lot of MBA program online too, but my caution to you guys is that actually choose the MBA program that will help you with your connections, right? You don't want to just actually take a course online just because it's there, just because you want to add something, behind your name. But actually, so that's why actually a lot of people actually choose USC, right, Dr. Susumi? Because actually USC has a huge connection, Trojan, right? So actually, like if you're a Trojan, then actually you have, certainly actually like you call the CEO of the next company, you say, hey, I need a favor. And he said, oh, okay, yeah, sure. And then, or actually, and that's one of the reasons why I'm planning to do at UCI, because look around, my colleagues are all actually from UCI in a way. So I thought actually that would be a good way to, form a business connection with these leaders in the community.
I agree with Dr. Ho. I think getting, medical degree, DPM or MBA, even PhD, it can't hurt you. Hey, when's the last time you saw someone who's too smart? No one is too smart. The more you know about it, it's better. So getting an MBA, it teaches you how to run business, how to connect with people. UCI, USC, great connections. Majority of Southern California is run by UCI, USC alumnus and alumni anyway. So get an MBA degree in those so-called known colleges always help. So to answer that student's question, get an MBA, PhD, anything, it cannot hurt you. It's always good to strive for best and get that networking going. You won't waste your time getting it. Yeah, most guarantee it.
Yeah, if you're interested in the business of medicine, then definitely get the MBA.
And then another question for everyone. V asks, when is the stress highest when you're in medical school or residency?
I was looking at that question too.
Yes, please.
That was a good question. Can I go?
Yes, please.
When you have, once again, like I mentioned it earlier, 10 patients shows up, 9 patient loves you. 1 patient shows up, hates you, no matter what you do. Boy, I hate that. But of course, you got to deal with it. How do you deal with it? From your experience, good judgment, and that just comes with that territory. You cannot and you will not please everyone and anyone. And that's my number one stress. Not, collections or employee not showing up or they've been pain in the neck, or that's my number one issue. But, having said that, you deal with it. You got to deal with stress. You got to know how to cope with those stress. At least that's for me.
I think actually for me would be actually in residency, because actually I chose actually to do mine at Harbor UCLA, which is a county hospital, so we don't have the luxury of private hospital. So we actually had to do everything with actually like ourselves, and we were on call actually at some point every 2 days, right? You can call 24 hours every 2 days. So that actually was, and then actually, the attending were never happy with your work, right? Actually, and, actually you will hear horror stories about actually, the attendings will make, the interns or the resident cry on rounds. So, right. So actually those are actually, I think those are actually the most difficult time for me in a way, but hey, I think actually everybody has the same kind of story from residency.
We survived.
We survived, yeah.
Yeah, med school was probably worse for me, just because I'm not that great of a student as far as attending classes and stuff, and so I would sleep through maybe half of my classes. So anyway, that's why I went to the business side. I'm just kidding, but yeah, but residency was tough also. But a lot less book reading compared to 6 hours a day of studying during med school, which is something like boot camp you got to go through. But for me, med school is definitely tougher.
And then, yeah, so we're coming up on our last couple of questions. So for Dr. Susumi specifically, with the pursuit of med school in mind, what suggestions or advice do you have for pre-med students seeking out relevant extracurriculars or research opportunities?
You know, I was reading that too. I think it's a great question. You know, I think everybody pursue medicine, go into medicine, will do pretty much what we all do. You know, research, working for a doctor's office, whatnot. I think in that situation, you know, make sure you intern or work with a doctor that you have interested in. You don't want to waste your time going to medical school or podiatrist school knowing you want to be a, once again, I'm just going to throw that in, just dermatologist. End up becoming a dermatologist and hating it. You want to know what you want to go into. So, you know, most people will do, everybody will pretty much do the same thing. Biology research, working with a doctor's office. My advice is, you know, find out what you really want to pursue in the future once you're in medicine. And you know, it's never too early or too late to find out what you really want to pursue. You don't want to waste your time going into a certain field and changing it.
Yeah, great answer to a great question too, and definitely super important to again pursue what you're passionate in. And I feel like that was one of the main messages throughout this webinar.
It sure is, yeah.
And then the last question, well, the second to last question here from Malik is, are there any opportunities for nurses to get involved in the business of medicine? If any of you guys would like to answer that.
Definitely, there are positions. For example, a nursing supervisor is involved in the business side as well. If you were a supervisor of nurses, whether it's in the hospital or in the medical office, nurses can definitely play a huge role in running the business side of medicine. And in memorial care, we have a good number of nurses who are in the chain of command, the leadership, and who know nursing very well, and at the same time, they're probably a little bit more caring than the docs. So, but yes, there's lots of opportunity for nurses to be involved.
I believe there are, you know, dozens of hospitals, providing organizations in this country that had nurses as their CEO, that came, you know, that became nurses that became CEO. So plenty of opportunity.
Yeah, that's what most nurse practitioners go into, right? To run business.
Yeah, a nurse practitioner is another great way to be involved in the field of healthcare without doing all of the like education and experience needed to be a full doctor. And you get to be more hands-on with the patients as well. And so I saved this as a fun last question to end on for Dr. Susumi. Someone messaged me this early on, but I feel like this would be better saved for the end. But Dr. Susumi, where did you get your watch from?
You know what this is? This is Casio. I got it at Ross. I thought you were gonna ask, who do your hair?
Well, so with all that, I will be emailing everyone to thank them just to wrap this up, and we will be uploading this webinar on YouTube as well and on our website for everyone to watch. I want to thank everyone for coming, and if all the doctors and participants would like to drop their like organizations, like Dr. Trin's organization or Mr. Chang's organizations below, as a like, if you guys have any volunteer opportunities open, that would be great. Okay, thank you, Dr. Trin. So again, for everyone here, if you would like to join our network, we're gonna have monthly talks and more similar webinars like this. And any closing statements from the speakers?
Well, I go first. So, well, thank you very much for Generation Med to invite us. This is a great opportunity for us to get, involved with your organization and the students who actually are interested in medicine. We always actually want to be out there for you guys. Reach out to us if you have any questions. I know actually the road to medicine or business in medicine is complicated, and sometimes actually you meet challenges. So reach out to us. We're here. We would love to be involved in a mentorship to you guys. And a lot of you guys actually, I think this organization is a good way for some of you may not have connections, personal connections, to reach out to actually the larger community that we have.
Yep. And then I go, well, basically, anyone who wants to go into medicine, make sure that's what you want to do. Don't just do it because it's cool or think you'll be financially secure. Yeah, it might be one of those, but make sure that's what you really want to do, because a lot of obstacles, and if you don't have passion, if you don't like what you really do in it, you're going to suffer. You'll hate it. You will hate it. So you got to do what you got to do and make sure you're getting into because that's what you want to do, not because your parents are forcing you to do it, not because your neighbors are doing it, because your friends are doing it. You do it for a good reason, passion. And if that's what you really want to do, you can surpass any obstacles. Just remember, passion will help you do better. And try to plan everything in advance, and it probably won't happen the way you plan, but it's okay. Never give up on what you want to do. Plans, just change the plans. Don't change the ultimate goal. As long as you have the passion and the ultimate goal, you will get there. But your plan's not going to go the way you want to, I can guarantee you. There's going to be a lot of obstacles, but if you aim for the goal, if you know what you're doing, you will get there and you will do it.
Well, I'll jump in next. Dr. Trin, you go last. I think it's this webinar or what you have done here is terrific. I mean, I think most of us, if not all of us, didn't have this kind of access when we were in college, right? So I think it's definitely very beneficial to the people that participated to actually hear these things. And to Dr. Susumi's point, don't spend too much time on the plans. 90% of the time it'll fail, and you just got to figure out how to work around it. And I'll throw a couple of things out there from a business perspective. People ask me, I work with a lot of startups and things, and people ask, or I've done a few myself. And they ask, what's the secret? What's the thing that makes you successful? I'm not saying I'm successful because there's a lot of people that are successful out there. But in hindsight, people can say a lot of things. Oh yeah, I got this plan. I did this, that. But in reality, I'll tell you, from my own personal experience and what I actually know is that, 90% of the time is execution. Okay, it is just keep working at it. Don't give up. Don't need to figure everything out. Okay, you just gotta get through today sometime. Get through tomorrow, right? Do that. I at one point in school, when I was in computer science, almost quit that one day. I mean, it's that close to quitting. And the reason I wanted to quit was because one of my dorm mate, who was a chemistry major, knew a lot more about programming than I did. And that sucked, right? I was computer science. Why don't I know more? Right? I was so depressed. He was a chemistry major and knew so much more than I did. I almost quit. I was like, I'm not gonna make it. There's no way I want to make this. So don't spend too much time on planning it and figuring it all out. You're not gonna figure it out. 90% is gonna be execution. I tell a lot of startup people when they come up to me with an idea, I say, your idea is actually worth about 1% of the whole thing. 90% execution and 9% luck. You need a little bit of luck. But you heard the saying, the harder you work, the luckier you get.
That's true.
So Yeah, so I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, agree.
And I would totally agree with what everyone else has said so far. Do not be afraid to fail. You know, many times we have this fear of failure because we associate failure to ourself, right? We don't think this project is a failure. Sometimes we think I'm a failure, right? If I fail in this project. But the truth is, you know, for us to get to where we're at, we have failed thousands of times. And it's okay. It's okay because you can't get to where you're at unless you fail. The key is to fail forward. As you're falling, you're still going forward. You're learning something new from your failure. And go out there and fail. I tell a lot of my students in Tongue Out, because a lot of them go with us, I tell them that if you haven't failed, you haven't started. If you haven't failed, you haven't tried. And so do not be afraid to fail. It is not your identity. It is just a project that didn't work as well. And that's okay. You learn something from it. You move forward, right? And so I'm sure we can all say that because we've all gone down the path of failure to get to where we're at. And it's normal. It's expected. And so I congratulate you guys for being part of this this new awesome group and good job, Isabel, for launching Generation Med. And we are, I'm sure most of us can say here that we're available for you guys. If you needed to email us to contact us or whatever. I got my email on there and our website and stuff like that. So we're totally available for questions or whatever. Yeah.
Okay, well, then maybe last thing to wrap it up. Thank you guys so much for coming again, especially to the participants and the speakers. Lots of questions, a lot more than I thought, and you guys answered all of them so well. And if you guys have any more questions for them, feel free to email us or to email the doctors available. All right, so I'm gonna end this now, but thank you guys so much for coming.
Isabel, great work.
Great
Very
work.
well
Thank you.
organized. Very